right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Spawning in the bottom left position of the map that is Whirlwind. From SK Telecom, it is our Red Terran player up 1-0 in this best of 3, FanTaSy. And it looks like our blue Zerg player does need a quick pause. Hopefully all is well. I don't want to introduce him without everything going. And he, Panida. I don't know. All right, well, we're going again. It's all good. And he is here. His drones are mining. He's ready to rock and roll. The blue Zerg player with the ST tag, perhaps Startail, it is 0. So, we did see FanTaSy just, you know, kind of bowl over 0 in that last game. He had aggression everywhere. There's very few times where we can honestly say that the Zerg player just had nothing. It's, you know, it's as if FanTaSy was like Spider-Man or something. He just all over the place. And even though 0 is Dr. Octopus or whatever with like 8 arms, it's still not enough. He still doesn't have enough arms. He needs to be like Dr. Dodecapus or something. Like he needs that many to deal with this, to deal with the type of aggression that FanTaSy brought. And it looks like he'll be going command center first once again. But let's see what 0 has in store. There's still a potential for him to play a standard macro game. We won't see the craziest drone scout ever. In fact, we might not even see a drone scout, as this is not a map where the two barracks play is actually viable. People don't really see that here. It's not a popular style to go for. And there's the command center. FanTaSy, he's keeping a couple of the cards into his chest. He's building that command center on the high ground. He says, well, if you decide to roll the ultimate dice and just 6 pool with all drones, at the very least I'll have something to defend against this, and I can't blame him. He's just playing out safe. He took a 2-0 win over Remember, and we're actually seeing a somewhat similar setup from 0. However, a key difference to point out compared to the last map, the gas started and finished before the spawning pool really went underway. This means that Zergling speed can start out much faster than on the last map, and once 0 gets a read on FanTaSy's location, which, I mean, this Overlord will eventually get there to see it. He knows he's not in the top right. But once he gets to read on his location, we could see a very big swell of Zerglings, a very aggressive attack come out from 0 with that Zergling speed. Now, the SCV is coming in for FanTaSy. He should be able to spot this. It's heading straight towards the natural expansion of 0. And, you know, it's nice for FanTaSy because he gets that fast scout off. This Overlord will find him no matter what. He does immediately start the bunker. Very fast bunker for FanTaSy pretty much as soon as this barracks completed. I do like that decision. Mostly just being safe because Zergling speed is already on the way. The SCV knows about this. A very important bit of information. If he clicked that extractor, he knows that he's got me mined over 100 gas. He knows there's a serious threat. And look at this. Already 10 Zerglings. Is 0 going to commit to this? He's built enough. He can shove away an SCV. Is he going to put back on gas and get a Baneling Nest? I'm really wondering where he wants to go with this. This looks like it's just going to be a mass speedling attack from 0. This is exactly what I was kind of mentioning earlier. The factory is on the way. The barracks can start to build that reactor. His unit's production is going to be completely limited. All he'll have access to are these 2 Marines in the bunker. And there we have the Overlords being produced. The Queens are just doing their things. They're just queening around. FanTaSy needs to get a wall set up very quickly. These Zerglings are already making their way over 0. He's getting ready to bring the pain and just stockpiling them outside the natural. Once speed is done, he'll burst in without a second supply depot. FanTaSy actually doesn't have anything to block him from just going straight into the main base. In fact, he's just going to run the Zerglings right on through the Congo line of Slowlings. This SCV thankfully should be able to block this off. He does throw in an engineering bay. Quite nice, but he can pick this SCV off and actually press his way into the main anyway. With just 2 Marines, this is tough. He's trying to just get this together. This SCV somehow managed to get to the other side of the engineering bay. He's continuing to just attack this. It's so low, but if it can complete, if he finishes his engineering bay, he can repair it. It's so close. It's been knocked down about 60 health, but it doesn't look like he's going to kill this. This is still a really nice spot. And 0 realizing this, he's like, okay, well, screw it. I'm just going to go for the natural. I'm going to force a liftoff and just shut you down where I can. And I feel like if he'd gotten a wraparound in that bunker, it might have ended up being better for him. But FanTaSy has managed to survive. Behind this, we still just have 0 just cranking out endless amounts of Zerglings. It's possible that he could actually hit this from both sides. He can try to press the bunker from both directions. That's exactly what he's going to do. If he can prevent this 3rd command center, that would be huge. but the Hellion is here. The SCVs are here. The bunker gets knocked down. There's just a Hellion and a handful of Marines. The Zerglings trying to sprint through the SCVs to the wonderful hold position, but the Zerglings still get this around. He's managed to climb on top of these units. The Hellion is getting oh so low. That third command center will have to be canceled if he can't kill off all of these Zerglings. And behind this, 8 drones. 0 in a fantastic spot. What the command center? It's at 100 of 100. It was done. He has to cancel it. And 0 now, up 48 supply to 19. This guy couldn't be happier right now. That command center seriously wasn't done. Oh man, this is a Terran player's worst nightmare. FanTaSy needs to make a serious miracle happen. We see the tech lab starting. The starport is on the way, and I think he realizes he needs to pull off. He needs to throw something out of left field. This is it. This is that part. He's got a, I don't know. He needs to pull out a secret weapon of some kind, because with these 2 command centers and the main base, look at this. Some of these mineral patches already being mined away. He doesn't have too many options. These Zerglings are still going to camp the natural for a little bit. We have a cloak and the Banshee on the way, but 0. I mean, he can just run the Overlord in and get scouting information. There's not enough Marines to prevent him from seeing this, I don't think. And with this third base, he has the economy there. Actually, the Overlord speed is coming in. So once Overlord speed is done, he can run in. He should be able to recognize that this is going to be a cloak Banshee play, and therefore doesn't really have to worry about a frontal aggression. More so, getting in a spore crawler at each base, getting a little bit of that detection up to prevent that from being an issue. And now 0's coming in with a lot of Zerglings. There are 5 Hellions. If you can catch them, that would be huge. They're leaving the base. Oh, he's trying to run in. Is he going to be able to climb his way into the main base? Gets a surround on one of the Hellions. Not bad. Will try to press his way into the main ramp. Nice lift up from FanTaSy, though. Will cause the death of these Zerglings. And FanTaSy starting to push forward in supply a little bit. Not as behind as he was a few minutes ago. And that first Banshee is out. Now, the Overlords do spot this 0 with great Overlord coverage. Has managed to see literally everything that FanTaSy's been up to pretty much this entire game. 3 spore crawlers are on the way. He has one already complete and the natural, so shouldn't be able to kill too much. These Hellions taking a little bit of heat. The Zerglings doing what they can to throw this back. And this Banshee is actually starting to get a couple kills. We have 4 killed so far for FanTaSy. He hasn't quite evened up the damage that he received earlier, but there is the cloak. We have spore crawlers trying to dance around a little bit. The lair's not done yet, so no overseers means no mobile detection. All he has are these spore crawlers to give the detection, and the queens have to actually make that damage happen. But still picking off drones here and there. This is exactly what FanTaSy needs. He's starting to claw his way back into this game a little bit. Every drone that he kills is huge. The Zerglings don't come up here. The Hellions get surrounded outside of the bunker. This is absolutely huge. There's no wall off. He can just run right on in and 0. Bursting forward into FanTaSy's natural / main base. These SCVs can't, they're helpless. These 2 Marines are not enough to kill all of these Zerglings off. And with 16 more on the way, it looks like 0 has found the weakness of FanTaSy. This Banshee comes in, but it's not going to be enough. He has to bring his second Banshee home, but he lost his natural command center. That's it. He's stuck on 1 base. He has another command center on the way, but playing 2 base versus a 3 base Zerg is going to be so difficult for FanTaSy. He locked a couple SCVs up in that bunker. And I mean, he'll eventually be able to kill these Zerglings off, but I mean, it cost him a lot to make this happen, and I'm really worried about FanTaSy now. The Spire's on the way. The 2/2 upgrades. FanTaSy only has +1, just barely starting, and he'll pick off those Zerglings, sure. But now 0 sitting happy as happy as anything. Really, he could literally be as happy as anything, because whatever anything is, that's happier than FanTaSy is right now, and that's really all that matters. Those 2/2 upgrades, I think, with the Baneling speed and the Spire, he could just kill him in a few moments' time. FanTaSy, I don't know what you do in a situation like this. He lost so much. Losing the command center especially, very difficult to deal with. Bouncing back, he's just going to get a 4th base. We have the armory starting up, so FanTaSy still wants to get his upgrades going. It's just not going to be easy. It's out of the cards. In fact, his stim is still like a minute or 2 away. He has a whole minute before stim finishes. These Banshees are poking. He's trying to get every dollar worth out of these Banshees. And I got to give FanTaSy credit. He's killed a lot of drones. But the problem here is that in this situation, losing a few drones means nothing. And now with this Overseer, with its speed upgrade, he can just lock onto these Banshees. The Mutalisks will kill them. And now it's just pretty much suicide. That's it. He just gotta suicide his way through, try to kill something. Getting the Queen would be nice. He does manage to grab that, so there's no inject on this hatchery. And so he basically somewhat partially delayed the production. But FanTaSy still sitting on 2 bases. There's no third command center. He does have a missile turret being built in the main base. He's going to move out with some Marines now that Stim is done. But this is it. He's got +1 Marines versus a lot of 1/1 Zerglings. There are a few Banelings here as well. That +2 getting so close. The Lings are going to try to get this around, and he will get that surround. The Mutalisks are here as well. Everything gets killed for FanTaSy. What's left? A bunker with 2 Marines in it. The Zerglings and the Mutalisks coming up. There's the GG and the 0. The Zerg player ties the series up 1-1 here at the Intel Extreme Masters Korean-Singapore qualifier.